I wanted to present you with a copy of my book. It's called The All One Era, and great privilege and honor if you would take a copy. I wrote an inscription there from just after your wonderful talk today to my animal friend, from your animal friend. And it has your great quote in there. I think it's page 14. No, sorry, I can find it in a second. Should have marked it. It's okay.
These are photographs that are going to turn dark. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, mine too. Mine are photographs. Yeah. Well, it starts out, how come the movie An Inconvenient Truth by U.S. Vice President Al Gore didn't have any impact? It was there for all to see, and what did the world do? They held world summits and committed to lower the carbon footprint using economic sanctions. And did they lower it? No, it was a joke. As Dr. David Suzuki pointed out, the politicians that voted to lower it are now in office, and those who are rather not in office, and those who are not obligated to adhere to those commitments. You know, and so on. It goes on. But your actual quote is beautiful because it sums it up so perfectly. The environmental movement has failed. We've won some fierce battles, but we lost the war because we failed to change the consciousness surrounding these issues.
Exactly.
It's the consciousness that's the most important thing here.
Absolutely.
If it doesn't come from something like what you're doing now, this grassroots, is so beautiful. I congratulate you on that.
Thank you. I'm very proud of it.
It's
just
wonderful. It's
going gangbusters.
It's fantastic. I mean, you just gave a great speech here to all the nations, First Nations, about how you already have over 7 million Canadians actually signed up to this
Well,
great...
their municipalities have signed up.
Okay.
So we get the city council to pass a declaration for a healthy environment.
Right.
And they, in those cities, a total of 7 million
It's
people.
beautiful. Could you give us a little synopsis of the Blue Dot?
So the idea is the Blue Dot is this tiny sphere in the universe. We're insignificant. That was the point of Carl Sagan's famous essay, that when you get to the edge of the solar system and look back, we're just 1/6 of 1 pixel in the whole picture. We're nothing.
Right.
And yet in that tiny dot, all of human history took place. All of the billions and billions of people who have loved and worked hard, who fought and killed and lusted for power, and all of that stuff took place on that insignificant little dot. That's our only home. It's the only place in the universe that we know. So, anyway, what we think is we have to deal with each other in a kinder way, and we have to realize that our health and well-being depends on a healthy environment, which is clean air, clean water, clean food, clean energy.
Yes. And the right to speak out.
The problem is, Stephen, most of us in Canada now live in big cities.
Yeah.
And in a big city, a person's priority becomes his job. I need a job to make the money to buy the things I want.
Yeah.
And so the economy seems to be the most important thing in our lives. And, I have a friend in Toronto who lives in a high-rise apartment in the north end of Toronto, completely air-conditioned. On the weekdays, he goes down the elevator into the basement, into his air-conditioned car, down the Don Valley Freeway, in the basement of his commercial building, all air-conditioned, and connected through tunnels to huge shopping areas. And he said to me, David, I don't have to go outside for weeks. So if you don't have to go outside, who the hell cares about nature?
Oh, yeah.
And that's our problem, is the
problem.
disconnect with the natural world.
Yes. It's a wonderful thing that you're bringing out. I salute you for doing the great work. I walk barefooted in the earth every day, grounding and feeling the magnetic energy of the earth and the electrical energy that surrounds us. And we are electrical in nature. We are receivers. As we open up our feminine energy, we men can do it. We can receive and become conduits of spirit. But we first need to get back in touch with nature.
Exactly.
With her rhythms, we have to have that respect and love for nature and who we are. It's such a beautiful thing. The actual grassroots movement, which is so similar to your grassroots movement, I'm calling it the All One Era, my new magazine. And it started officially on December 21st, 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar, and has been going gangbusters since then. Here in Kelowna, we have had full and new moon gatherings every month to a month, plus the ones that we've had since 1997, which are the celebrations of the equinoxes and the solstices. And we're getting hundreds of people turning out twice a month to sit around the fire and to dance and to drum and to talk and to trade stories once again. Some ceremony. There's so little ceremony left in our entire population. As you said, probably 95% of the world lives in high-rise buildings in cities. They never touch the ground with their bare feet. And they don't breathe the fresh air. They're stifled and they're out of touch with nature, which is our very essence. It's our very sense. Most of all, it brings us back to our hearts when we are in touch with nature. By eating organic foods and exercising and being in touch with nature, we automatically say and feel the right things, and we no longer tolerate the destruction that we see at every state, and no longer buy into it. We stop giving away our power, so to speak.
Do you know Richard Louv?
I've heard his name, yes.
So he wrote The Last Child in the Woods. And he says there are a suite of problems with young people, attention deficit disorder, bullying, hyperactivity, that all comprise what he calls a nature deficit disorder. Take these kids out into nature, all these issues disappear.
Beautiful.
We need to get out and make contact with nature.
Absolutely. I'm a member of the Robert Bateman Board of Directors, and we've been doing that for the last 7 years now, is introducing children to the wilds. It's a beautiful work, along with your beautiful work. I love that you mentioned Rachel Carson's book and the impact that pesticides and herbicides have on the environment. It's actually the basis for what I've wanted to do for the last 30 years in the Okanagan Valley. I'm putting forth the 2020 vision and declaration for the entire valley of British Columbia to become 100% organic by the year 2020.
I just heard it when you announced it. I was electrified.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, that's what we need, the kind of target. Then we can all work together. And it's an uplifting target. It's wonderful.
And I took the declaration to your event for the Blue Dot, which my son Ezra was managing. And without even reading it in public, I got 300 signatures that night. Amazing.
That's great. Amazing. Yeah.
Because everyone that's signing the Blue Dot also wants to see everything return to natural.
Absolutely.
We want nature to pervade, not money. Right? Money is not our God. So this is the beautiful thing. One of the most important things I had to prove was that my own organic winery, Summer Hill, could be economically feasible and sustainable before I could say, let's everybody be organic. Because then they'll turn around and say, well, Steve, we don't have millions of dollars to do that, But now I can make that statement that we are financially stable and we're 100% organic and we're winning awards around the world and we're the most visited winery in the world and all that stuff. So, wow, it's a great boon.
It is a great boon.
It's a great boon.
But it's crazy that you have to prove doing something that improves your health and the health of the environment somehow has to be economically possible. That strikes me as crazy.
Crazy. Could I get your signature on this petition?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. That's awesome. Wow. Beautiful. Wow. That's beautiful. I could, if I may take
Al Gore called for 100% renewable energy in 10 years.
Yes.
These are the kinds of calls that we need to get off the drunken, destructive path that we're on.
Yes. This is the call to action. Just to read them. We agree with this declaration and by signing below agree to share the 2020 vision with our friends and family, to grow, buy, and consume local organic, to ask where our food and beverages come from and how they're grown, to consider transitioning our lawns and gardens to zero-scape our properties, to urge all commercial chemical farming owners to consider the future for all our children and their children's sake.
Absolutely.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
And the beautiful thing is the Okanagan can be a model for the world, and it's the easiest place to go organic because we have the least amount of pests here.
But
We're very north.
an entire country is organic. That's Bhutan.
Bhutan. That's fantastic.
So they're an amazing country.
They are, yes. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Now they can do it because they're a small country and they're really isolated in the Himalayan mountains surrounding.
Yes.
But the big thing is, as you know, the story of the king when he was at a meeting in India and was asked by the press, "What about your GNP?"
Right.
He said, "We don't pay attention to GNP. It's GNH, gross national happiness.
I love
That's
it.
the goal of
I call it the HQ, the happiness quotient.
Yeah.
I love it. My editor-in-chief will kill me if I don't ask you a couple of little political questions.
Yeah.
Thank you. Golly. The right to a healthy environment, clean air, water, food, and a say in decisions that affect the environment. Seems like a simple, straightforward request based on good old common sense, and yet we have to fight for it? Who are we fighting against?
Every interest that doesn't have to pay the price for what it does. So the fossil fuel industry will fight it because right now they use the atmosphere as if it's free.
Yeah.
They use the rivers and the land as a garbage dump, and they don't pay for that.
Right.
So they don't want to face up to the fact that there's a cost to that, a health cost.
Right.
Every logging company that wants to clear cut rather than log properly is going to fight it. Everybody that wants to use a river to exploit it in a way that's unsustainable. You know, you would think a healthy environment, that's a mom and apple pie issue. But the vested interests see it through very narrow lenses. And it's, you know, I talked about the CEO of the oil company that came to see me. When he left, he couldn't agree with what I said. Even though I said, look, I think there's, you know, this is a foundation of how we can live. And he couldn't agree with me because how could he go back to his shareholders and say, I agree with Suzuki, we can't do anything to screw up the air, the water, and the soil? Well, he'd get fired in a minute.
He'd be gone.
So there'll be a lot of vested interests that will fight this.
Yeah. Amazing. Once again, world leaders will meet to discuss greenhouse gases and emissions and climate change. This time in Paris at the Climate Change Conference on November 30th. Do you think anything new will come out of this meeting?
I think there is a chance. I was very pessimistic. I talked to the French ambassador to Canada and I said, look, there have been 20 meetings like this that have already gone on. Are you just going to be the 21st, another failure? Or will you signal that 20 meetings have achieved nothing, we're going to have to do something different? When he left, I thought, not a chance he's going to. But two things have happened I never imagined. One was the United States and China getting together and saying, we've got to take it seriously. That's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
And the other thing is a Pope. I am an atheist, but man, this guy is beautiful.
Power.
I have read his encyclicals several times. It makes me cry every time.
He's amazing.
Because he's done something very few of us do. You know, he's taken hunger and poverty, issues of social justice, First Nations, the environment, and they're all together. They're not little isolated packs. They're all together. It's about how we live together.
Yeah.
And it's wrapped in a sense of morality, a moral obligation. And those two things, China and the United States getting together, the Pope could potentially change the whole game.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Canada has submitted its climate change action plan ahead of the Paris meeting. The intended nationally determined contribution submission reveals Canada intends to achieve an economy-wide target to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions by 30% below 2005 levels by 2030. How does Canada intend to do this?
We don't intend to do it. Mr. Harper doesn't intend to do it. And Mr. Harper is, you know, he already shifted the baseline from 1990 to 2005, which allowed for that much more increase in greenhouse gases. He has shown no, I mean, have you ever heard climate change pass his lips?
not really.
You know, no.
No.
And it's interesting to contrast Obama, who went to Alaska, the oil-producing state, and said, we got to do something about global warming.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. Harper, who went to the Arctic for 5 days and never once mentioned climate change. So if as long as we have a Harper government, forget about climate change, he's not going to do anything.
Yes.
This is not a serious plan, and it's a joke. We're a laughingstock for the rest of the world.
You once wrote in The Sacred Balance, there are 7 essential items that human beings need to live. Earth, water,
Air, fire, water.
biodiversity, love, and spirituality. Do you think human beings have become disconnected with their spirituality? If so, is this one of the core reasons that you led people away from nature and caring for the environment? Is this one of the core reasons that has led people away from nature and caring for the environment?
I think it is, and this is why I've spent so much time with First Nations. They
Yes.
still have a profound spiritual connection.
Spiritual connection,
to the
yes.
land.
They are one with the earth because they
Yeah.
are one with nature
Yeah.
and one with themselves. And they are sitting in that fire and putting their feet on the bare earth
Yeah.
and in the flow of nature and receiving end of the electrical nature that's all around us.
But what's weird, Stephen, is that throughout time,
Yes,
each generation has hoped to leave a better world for our children.
yes.
And you know for sure the
Oh, gosh.
children growing up now
Oh, gosh.
are not going to have a chance in
No.
living in the kind of world that we knew when we
that's
were
right.
youngsters.
That's correct. That's
You know,
100%.
what the hell has happened? We have
Yeah.
become so short-sighted
Yes, oh yes.
that we want to get more money to buy a bigger
Yeah.
car, a bigger
Yeah.
house, da-da-da-da, and we're forgetting about what we're leaving for our children.
It's amazing. I've been a 60s hippie. We're probably around the same age.
No. I've got another generation.
No. And we fought to get rid of number 6 fuel in New York City because it was choking the babies. And we got it. You know, they're down to number 2 fuel. We fought to keep our waters clean, and yet Long Island Sound became, all the fish jumped out. They had a jubilee. It's dead now. I'm so worried about Okanagan Lake.
Yeah.
If it hadn't been saltwater, it could happen to this lake.
Oh, absolutely.
And this lake has an 80-year climb system. It's one of the slowest in the world. It only turns over every 80 years. And the amounts of chemicals we're putting in from the orchards and the vineyards is frightening. Not to mention the sewer treatment plants and all those things. So I'm really happy that you've signed this agreement, that we have 2 beautiful grassroots movement going, your wonderful Blue Dot, and perhaps this All One Era, where we can come from our hearts. This is what we need to do, is get back to our
Yeah.
heart. Stop giving away our power. It's just not working.
Yeah.
We've shown that.
So I think all over the world there are bits and pieces, there are things going on.
Yes.
The problem right now is that we have governments who are really working to the corporate agenda, because corporations have a vast amount of money to sponsor politicians.
Yes.
But I think the grassroots movement and all of these things going on have got to cause it to flip.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bless your heart. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for doing the great work.
Thank you. And thank you for all the support you've given us over the years.
You
Can I
ain't seen
ask-
nothing yet.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Just being like a householder, David, how do you see that, like the average householder that is living in the city, right? And this is part of our lives. How can we shift from, this old way of thinking that is definitely not working? Like,
Yeah.
how can we shift from that as we move forward? So if you're because there's a lot of people out there that, do get confused, like myself, like, around government and what to do and how to do that. What would your advice be to the average householder?
Well, I mean, it depends what level you're ready to enter. I mean, we have a program where we're actually training people how to reduce their footprint in the household. Most of the people coming to us are women,
Yeah.
and they then are learning how to reduce their footprint and going out and sharing it with their neighbors, and that's one way of spreading it. We have a 30 by 30 challenge where we're challenging people, corporations, schools
Yeah, I just saw that.
in May,
Yeah.
and we've got tens of thousands of people now taking part
Yeah.
in it. Spend 30 minutes a day outside.
Oh,
and
yeah.
when they first came to me with this, I said, that's crazy. How about 2 hours a day?
Yeah.
And it turns out, even for me, I signed up. To take 30 minutes a day, I have to plan it in. I'm so bloody busy.
Yeah.
So this is a challenge, and going outside, standing smoking is not being outside.
Right.
Being outside with earbuds stuck in your, that's not, we're saying go outside, sit under a tree, walk in the park, but have all your senses open to the world around.
Yeah.
And believe me, that's healthier. I think the challenge is the human body was made to move, and we have done everything in the opposite direction. Anything that involves a little bit of work, we have a convenience, so you don't have to do it. You know, whether it's an escalator up 2 flights or moving sidewalks or whatever. Get back to living in a way that's in balance with your body, in balance spiritually. You know, whether that's doing yoga or whatever. But we've got to begin to change the way we actually live.
Yeah.
I find among youth the really exciting thing is the urban agriculture movement. Now, this generation of kids has grown up not even knowing McDonald's or Kentucky Fried Chicken is a bird.
Oh my God.
They just think it's, McNuggets or whatever, and
It's
that's
not
it,
a bird,
right?
it's a dinosaur.
But they're not connected. But this urban agriculture is being driven by young people who are just getting their hands back into the soil and working it and learning about composting and organically farming and distributing what they're growing to others. That to me is a huge way in.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we've actually become the very technology we created on many levels, and we have to take a step back from that.
Yeah.
Almost like robots, and then
Yeah.
no wonder it's manifesting in our health.
Well,
And
I'm very
our
proud of
living.
a study we did recently. As your income goes up, your health level benefits, you can afford more, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And what we showed is that every 10 trees added to your block is the equivalent of adding $10,000 to your salary. That is, you're $10,000 healthier with 10 trees.
Nice.
So we need nature in a very, very direct way.
Yeah.
And in a city, it's especially true. So, greening cities, having more parks, all of these little
Rooftop
things
gardens.
are part of it. Rooftop gardens,
Love it.
absolutely.
Organic rooftop gardens.
My vision is, if you fly over a forest, every green thing in the forest is going, I want sun.
Right.
You fly over a city,
Yeah.
and all you see are barren, flat roofs of warehouses and buildings. Why aren't those buildings loaded with solar panels just
Exactly.
saying, give it to me? Like, it's free and it's clean.
Yeah.
Like, we got to rediscover those simple things.
And now with that magnificent technology for collecting the sun's energy, we could even go back. I was just saying to Jeanette Armstrong today after her wonderful presentation that 1932 dam basically messed up the entire network of waterways.
Yeah.
I said, now with solar, we could replace that dam.
Absolutely.
And cut it out and restore everything back
Yeah.
to the way it was.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Yeah, the technology's here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Bless your heart, my brother.